Guyana is now actively assisting Trinidad and Tobago in securing up to $200 million in financing to restart the long-shuttered Petrotrin refinery, and this could mark one of the most significant energy shifts in the Caribbean in years. Speaking at the 5th Guyana Energy Conference in Georgetown, Trinidad and Tobago's Energy Minister Roodal Moonilal confirmed that Guyana has been instrumental in connecting Trinidad with potential financiers, including Arab representatives and banking institutions. According to him, President Irfan Ali personally facilitated introductions that could unlock the capital needed to bring the refinery back to life. This is not just diplomatic courtesy, this is strategic alignment. Moonilal revealed that an estimated $50 million would be needed for a short-term restart of refinery operations. However, to fully restore Petrotrin to its previous scale, including supplying refined products across the 15-member Caribbean community, the figure could rise to $200 million. And here's where this gets interesting. The Saudi investment community has reportedly been in discussions during the Guyana Energy Conference. That introduces a serious geopolitical dimension. If Saudi-linked capital becomes part of this refinery revival, the Caribbean energy map may not just shift economically, it could shift diplomatically. Let's break down the timeline. If a financing agreement is secured by mid-year or third quarter of 2026, Moonilal says work could begin in the last quarter of this year. That would position the refinery for operational restart within roughly another year. That means by late 2027, the Caribbean could once again have a major functioning refinery in Trinidad, potentially processing crude linked to regional supply chains. Now here's the technical issue many have been asking. Petrotrin was built to process heavy crude. Guyana produces light sweet crude. Would that be a mismatch? According to Moonilal, that distinction is becoming less significant due to advances in refining technology. He argues modern chemical conversion processes can handle variations between heavy and light crude more efficiently than in decades past. Additionally, oil swap arrangements remain an option, meaning crude could be exchanged to secure the optimal blend for refinery operations. So the crude compatibility debate may no longer be a deal breaker. Let's talk implications. If Petrotrin restarts with stable financing and modern upgrades, Trinidad regains downstream refining power. That means jobs, export revenue, and renewed influence in regional energy supply. But if Guyana's diplomatic and strategic assistance helps make that happen, it also strengthens Guyana's position as a regional energy leader, not just as a crude exporter, but as a connector of capital and industrial capacity. And that creates a new energy axis in the Caribbean. Instead of fragmented island markets importing refined fuel from outside the region, a revived Trinidad refinery could once again serve CARICOM states. That shortens supply chains. It potentially stabilizes pricing. It increases regional energy resilience. But it also raises questions. What role will the United States play, especially if a Houston-based subcontractor and experts from companies like Shell and BP are involved? What role might Middle Eastern capital play if Saudi investment participation materializes? And how will other Caribbean states respond to a Guyana-Trinidad alignment that consolidates energy infrastructure in two states? Because make no mistake, energy infrastructure creates influence. Moonilal confirmed that Trinidad has the human resource capacity to operate the refinery. However, external technical partnerships may still be necessary for upgrades, market access, and modernization. That means this is not just a restart, it's potentially a redesign of how the refinery competes in modern global markets. And let's be clear, Petrotrin was closed in November 2018 under the then administration in Trinidad due to mounting financial losses and debt burdens. Restarting it now would not simply be reopening a facility, it would be reversing one of the most controversial industrial shutdowns in Trinidad's recent history. But here's the broader strategic layer. Guyana's involvement signals something new. Rather than competing for dominance, these two energy players may be moving toward interdependence. Guyana brings production growth and diplomatic leverage. Trinidad brings refining experience and industrial depth. If this works, the Caribbean energy conversation shifts from rivalry to integration. However, success depends on execution. Can $50 million truly achieve a stable short-term restart? Will $200 million be sufficient for full-scale CARICOM supply? Will private investors demand equity stakes? Will modernization costs rise beyond projections? These are critical questions that will determine whether this becomes transformational or another stalled attempt. And timing matters. Oil markets remain volatile. Energy transition pressures are growing. Refining margins fluctuate globally. Investors will demand confidence in long-term profitability before committing capital. But if financing closes and construction begins in late 2026 as projected, that will signal serious commitment. And here's the bigger question for the region. Could this mark the beginning of a Caribbean-controlled energy loop, where production, refining, and distribution increasingly occur within the region itself? If so, that reduces external vulnerability, it strengthens bargaining power, and it positions Guyana and Trinidad as dual anchors of Caribbean energy security.